Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, who's also host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, if it's Thursday or Friday or Monday or Tuesday or Saturday, whatever day of the week, it's always Russia. And Russia is back in the news because of apparently the most frightening hack of all time perpetrated against the United States or any country since the dawn of time has just happened. Apparently, one government agency after another has been the victim of a Russian hack through some flawed software that they were all using. Now, there are some strange aspects of the story. First of all, this is really largely a media created story because no government official has as yet confirmed that it was Russia that was behind this. It has been entirely reporters repeating things that other reporters had said, and then going to politicians who then repeat for the reporters what they had heard from other reporters, and then it just goes on in a kind of circular repetition in which it's said that it is widely believed that Russia was behind all of this. The other strange aspect of it is that the person whose fault it should be, which is Christopher Krebs, who was up until a few weeks ago was the man in charge of cybersecurity at the Department of Homeland Security. It should be down to him. However, at the moment, he's a national hero as far as the media are concerned because Trump fired him and he has been saying things that are very negative about Trump, and particularly he's been refusing to accept that there's been any fraud in the election. So he's a hero, and the politicians, everybody is fawning on him. But if anybody's to blame, then it should be Christopher Krebs. But instead, it's somehow, guess whose fault? Trump's. What's your take, Peter?
Well, of course, here in we've learned over the last 4 years that Russiagate can just take all of the oxygen out of the room. It's always this latest claim, this allegation, is just to point fingers and attention to other places here, because we do know that they're on the margins, the Biden story is slowly but surely seeping out. Okay, so you need to change the topic and keep the focus on the bad orange man in the White House. That's what they need to do. And the thing is that what we've seen is that there's no downside in making these claims. Okay, it's widely believed. Okay, by whom? Okay, and so you can just get away with it. And I'm perfectly willing to agree is that the cybersecurity infrastructure of the United States is probably extremely weak, okay, because they don't invest in it, all right? And were these agencies hacked? Yeah, probably, but it doesn't assume that it was one country. I mean, it could have been some teenagers in a Tampa house in a basement that did it. Okay, I mean, who was that young kid in Britain a few years ago? I mean, he was like dyslexic, or he had some kind of ailment here, but he was like a savant. Okay, he was just wandering around the Defense Department and the CIA, and he was just a harmless person that just had an unusual gift. And they wanted they extradite him and all this. He was just a kid with special needs, okay? And he just had an amazing gift. They should hire the guy, for God's sake, instead of persecuting him. All right, you and I are in no position one way or another. But there's a track record here of all of these claims never coming true. There's never any evidence for it. And what is so woefully disgusting is that the journalistic standard of, well, it's widely believed. I mean, many people are saying it. Yeah, many people are saying it. Other reporters are saying, oh, let's run with it. No editor worth his or her salt would publish anything like that. It's like, give me some facts. Get a name, get a tape recorder out, get a camera in front of somebody. But that's gone. That's gone.
That's right. Because the whole purpose of these stories is, obviously, to attack Russia yet again, and to blame Trump, that it's all somehow Trump's fault. It's kind of amusing because the story up until this week had been, this has been the safest, most secure, most wonderful, cleanest election of all time because we got the result we wanted. But then, of course, they had a problem because, well, if that's the case, then surely that's down to Trump. I mean, you know, Trump is the one who organized an election that was secure, safe, or whatever. So they said, no, it had nothing to do with Trump. It was all because of these great people at the Department of Homeland Security, people like Christopher Krebs. So now the line has changed. Apparently, no, we're back to, you know, we're leaking like a sieve. We have no security, and it's all Trump's fault.
Hey, but aren't the Russians supposed to be helping Trump? So why would they do that if that would hurt Trump?
That's the other aspect of it, exactly, which doesn't make a great deal of sense, is that the Russians are supposedly, you know, this is their man. You know, they want to keep him in power because he's their man, but they forgot to interfere in the election. They somehow absent-mindedly weren't paying attention. But now they remembered, hey, we're supposed to be evil and malign. Let's hack the United States. Yeah. I mean, they can get into the Pentagon, but they can't get into voting machines.
It's so interesting. Historians will look back, you know, when the pandemic hit, there was this impeachment fiasco. When 4 years of demonizing Trump and Russia, somehow trying to couple them together, which there's no evidence of whatsoever. You even had your Mueller report produce that. All the while, you know, look at the Swalwells and the Feinsteins and, you know, Fang, whatever her name is. You know, this amazing infiltration. I believe that. I totally believe it. You know why, George? Because there's so many Americans that'll sell out their country for money, for fame, for all kinds of reasons, okay? That's the kind of culture that has been built, okay, in our lifetime. I mean, selling yourself out to a foreign power, it's like, you know, it's just me, it's one person, it's only a couple $1 million, I'm never gonna change anything. And, you know, no one will probably ever find out because other people are on the take too, you know, but, you know, it's just this mentality. I mean, you know, Bernie Sanders went to Moscow on his honeymoon, which is supposed to be some kind of amazing scandal. Well, yeah, he spent his honeymoon here, but he was with Ronald Reagan on a delegation, and he was part of, he's from, what's the city? He's
Burlington, Vermont. I mean, they had a kind of a city exchange program.
You know, sister cities, okay? I mean, even bonehead Sean Hannity can't figure that out, okay? Right. So what, okay? I mean, these are the kind of things that they come up with. They don't think it through here. I don't think Bernie's a traitor to his country. He has a different agenda than I do, but I don't pass judgment on his patriotism. But look at all these people in the news. You have Hunter, Swalwell, Feinstein. You have some Midwestern governors, mayors, excuse me, whoever they are. And from what we've been told, that there's a whole lot more from people that have been in power that know about that. Okay, so you know, again, you know, all of this focus on this myth, because it's truly a myth. Real things are happening. Real things are happening, and then you have the possible appointment of a former CEO of Disney that has never said a bad thing about China because of his shareholders, okay? Now, I'm not saying you should say something bad about China. All I'm saying is you should be objective, okay? All countries, if you have the resources, countries spy. If you have the resources and the strategy, you will steal, okay? What did Pompeo say when he was at the CIA? We lies, what's the phrase?
Something like lie, cheat, and steal, or
lied, cheated, and stole. Okay, I mean, everyone's laughing in the audience. Yeah, that's what you do. Everybody does it. The difference is that those that are best able to defend against it. You know, those are the rules of the unwritten rules of the international order. And if you lose, don't blame the other guy. Blame yourself. You got caught with your pants down again.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, we all know this. I mean, it was, you know, when that old saw about, you know, gentlemen don't read one another's letters, which supposedly there's something wrong about spying. Everybody knows that countries spy on one another. You have to live with it. There's nothing immoral about it. So even if it were true, in other words, if all these blowhard politicians like Mitt Romney and other Democrats, they're screaming, "This is an act of war by Russia." So even if what they're saying is true and Russia is behind this act, Russia's just doing what everybody else is doing. Are you trying to persuade me that America isn't spying on Russia? America isn't trying to hack into Russian computer systems, into Russian military systems? Of course, the United States is doing. That's what you're supposed to do. What you're also supposed to do is ensure the security of your own system. And it sounds to me like if all these agencies were using this one computer management system, which was obviously lousy, then it's down to them. Why are they all using the same system?
Well, and maybe there was a backhander for that contract. Wouldn't be surprised. What was, I think it was Clapper that said, you're talking about American cyber assets, and we're probing Russia 24/7. He admitted that on national television. Okay. So, I mean, those are the rules of the game. And, if you lose, it's because you weren't good enough. All right. I don't understand why people get all wound up about it. That's called statecraft. Okay. And it happens America's allies spy on America. Israel constantly spies on America.
That's right. That's it. Yeah. And remember when Snowden revealed all of the spying that was actually taking place, like the United States was spying on United Nations diplomats, United States was spying on Angela Merkel's personal phone. And what was the general response? Hey, them's the breaks. We all do it, get over it. That was the attitude. No, there was no condemnation, saying, my God, we're spying on Angela Merkel. No, hey, that's what we do. So now we're supposed to be, oh my God, spying. This is an act of war. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous.
It gets down to this exceptionalism again. It defies any kind of logic. Okay, I mean, yes, we do it. We do it because we're more noble. We do it because we have what is it? Madeleine Albright says, America can
sensible nation.
Yeah, well, because America can see farther because we stand higher. Okay, well, that's nonsense. Okay, I mean, sure, for some people that warms their heart. So that's a kind of jingoistic rhetoric, but no, I mean, it doesn't work that way. It's like when I think it was Kerry said, I think it was a reaction to Crimea. He said, large countries shouldn't invade small countries, and everybody in the audience has started laughing. I mean, coming from the Secretary of State, really?
Right. Yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah. No, the thing is that the ruling class they can't see their own hypocrisy. Yeah. They can't see it.
Right.
And they can only judge others. There's no. I mean, there was. I don't know who it was. It was I think a former director of the CIA was on Laura Ingram's program, and they were talking about.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was really early in the, or maybe it was even.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, the one he was around in the Clinton.
Right, and she asked, and does the United States do it today? And yeah, that's like it was like funny, but he's like, yeah, it's true. I mean, and Laura Ingraham doesn't want to offend a guest because she wants them to come back. But I mean, she nailed it right there. But of course, she didn't push it. Okay.
Right.
Because she could have said, well, then what's the big brouhaha? I mean, if we do it, then why should we blame other people for doing it? But she couldn't go there. Couldn't go there.
Yeah, it was very funny because she said it like almost like a little joke. But of course, we don't do that, do we? And so, I mean, good for her that she actually raised that issue. Like, well, because normally you don't even ask that question. What do we actually do? But she actually even raised the question, and the guy, kudos to him, didn't say, no, of course not. No, we act always in accordance with the highest values of international law.
What was it? I mean, that was 2016.
Yeah, something like very early in the
and her guest, one of the former directors of the CIA, finally in public admitted, well, yeah, Iran in 1953, yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, we did that.
Exactly
I mean, but when you
yeah.
think about the scale, from the 50s all the way to 2016, and of course, anybody that wants to find out about it can know that there was an illegal coup. It was one of the first ones that we call forced regime change, and they've been doing it ever since. And
Exactly, it's ever
Yugoslavia,
since. Yeah, but that's
and
that's the point.
Yugoslavia was the updated version
Yeah,
of that playbook.
but it's gone on, and so that's why they can always say, "Oh, Mossadegh in '53" or "Arbenz in '54," as if there's nothing since then. But that was the last time. We never did anything since then. And they said, "Well, hey, what about Ukraine 2014? I mean, Honduras 2009. You could go Chavez 2002. I mean, you can the list starts piling up. But even what's his name? Bernie Sanders kind of does this. He starts condemning Mossadegh. Anyone can condemn something that happened 67 years ago now. I mean, the worst things have happened since then.
Yeah, and that kind of approach to this really is a huge disservice to the American public, because I think most people don't have any idea about that. How many Americans ever heard about the USS Liberty? How many have ever heard about that? Okay. And I'll tell you, if I was on a mainstream program like CNN and I brought it up, they'd say, that's a conspiracy theory. That never happened. Okay. And they would say it with a straight face. Okay. Mm-hmm. They would say it with a straight face.
Right. No, that's exactly right. The only people who know about the attack on the USS Liberty are people who are the denizens of the internet. And there, you'll find a great deal of information about it. Never in the mainstream media. It's just
or even the forced regime change of an ally in Vietnam, okay, overthrowing a government that we were propping up, okay? How many people know about that? And we could just go on and on and on. And, and Russia's the malign force in the world. I mean, and as, you and I said yesterday on our live here, we had one of our viewers, talk about Chinese aggression. Well, we have to put things into proportion. I mean, if the United States, I mean, John Bolton has recently said, we like the Monroe Doctrine and we talk about the Monroe Doctrine. Well, then can China have a Monroe Doctrine?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, why not?
But exactly. Or Russia, we want a bloody Monroe Doctrine here. We get to say, who does what in our neighborhood. I mean, everyone wants a Monroe Doctrine.
Well, see, and you know what? Everyone, in a sense, should have their Monroe Doctrine, and everyone should sit at the table and negotiate things and just say, look, this is a red line for us, okay? I understand that's a red line for you. Got it, okay? Got it, okay? George, what so many people don't understand is that from 1945 to 1991 was a truly anomalous moment in geopolitics, because it froze everything. Before that, we had great power competition, time immemorial. Okay, with the end of the Cold War and the American belief in the unipolar moment, when the unipolar moment came into existence in their minds, is that everything again remains frozen. We will be always number one, and we will do everything we can to avoid great power competition. They're actually this unipolar moment and this exceptionalism is antithetical to how the international system works forever. Okay, that's what really is the problem here, and it's. At least our generation was taught that. The current generation, as far as I know, isn't taught anything. Okay.
No, I think that's a very good point, and that's an issue that very much should come up in all the discussions, or should have come up in all the discussions about the expansion of NATO. The notion that any country should be able to join NATO without anyone having any say in the matter other than that country. It's a nonsensical idea. I mean, why, Russia that has been the victim of a number of huge invasions in the last 200 years will have a very strong say in a hostile military alliance on its borders. It is ridiculous to say, well, you don't have any say in whether you have a hostile military alliance in your borders. Of course they do. And that's exactly the point, that every great powers should realize what are, as you said, red lines for other great powers. That's how you avoid what's the worst thing imaginable, which is great powers going to war with one another. That's when we had the two world wars, that's the worst calamity ever. The great powers going to war against one another. And that's how you do it. What are the red lines? What are the red lines for the United States? What are the red lines for Russia? What are red lines for China? But the United States isn't prepared to undertake any such negotiation.
Well, I challenged a diplomat, an American, it was a private conversation, wasn't public. And he was, no, I'm sorry, it was the American ambassador to Moscow.
McFaul?
Not McFaul, no, of course not. Who was before him? Okay. Anyway, it'll come to me. But he was saying, the expansion of NATO is projecting security and prosperity. And I said, well, that may be true, but there's a loser in that, and that's Russia. So you're creating insecurity and probably no prosperity, because you've created an acute sense of insecurity in the eyes of the Russians. What you want to push as a positive, they see obviously as a negative. And I just proposed to him, I said, well, why don't we just have like a demilitarized zone, like no foreign militaries in these countries whatsoever. And he just, he couldn't comprehend that, because you have to always expand, and we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And if you have that perception, you can't talk to somebody like that. You simply can't talk to him, because we are, we're modern, we're a force for good and all of this. That's not international politics, okay? If you were to ask Bismarck that, he'd laugh in your face. He had nothing to do with virtue, man, okay? It's about, securing yourself, okay? And be prepared to live in a hostile world, okay? That's what you need diplomacy for, so make sure you don't go to war, because there is hostility in the world.
No, that's exactly right, because of course, if you place at the center of your foreign policy what is the national interest, then that automatically means that you will have an appreciation of what other countries' national interests are, and therefore you will have a much stabler world. But for some reason, that view is supposed to be a dirty word, realism, the horror upon horrors, realism. In other words, well, I'm the president of the United States. My only concern is what's in the interest of the American people. I don't really care, about the Ukraine's eastern borders. It's not really my concern. I don't care who runs Damascus. What's it doing for the American people? That is just an anathema to the U.S. foreign policy making elite.
Yeah, I mean, the president of the United States should be concerned about Syria's borders and Ukraine's borders, but not America's borders. I mean, I've never understood that. Okay.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, I think there's one thing for sure, that we will be getting a lot more Russia in the coming days. All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. We will, of course, maintain a laser-like focus as always. But remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.